When I sat in meditation, I was in a different dimension, and Swami appeared upon me like you were sitting in front of me now. He was standing in front of me. I was spaced out. I was in awe, you know. I remember he came, I was in line 1, he came around, and I stood up. You're not supposed to stand up in front of Swami. I stood up and said, Swami, I want your grace.
Well, that's perfectly understandable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did he look at you?
Yeah. He tapped on my skinny shoulder and said, wait, wait.
What attracts you to come back?
I feel the calling. I feel the urge to come here, you know.
Even though you know you're not going to turn the corner and see Sai Baba coming down the darshan hall.
That's right. I mean, I have him with me all the time, but it's different to be here in Prashanti Nilayam, because this is the place where, this is the most peaceful place. This is a different world. It's so totally different from, you know, being back to Germany, where everything is clean on the outside. I see the older I get, the delusion fades that life becomes easier.
Yeah.
It only becomes easier in proportion to the detachment which I have to my physical form, you know.
His name is Kai like Sai. Kai KRUEGER, a man on a long-time spiritual journey, a healer, a gentle being from Germany. Welcome to Souljourns. This interview was recorded in Sai Baba's ashram Prashanti Nilayam in Puttaparthi, India, in January of 2013.
I first came here in 1982. It was Christmas, like this year, 30 years ago. And I had heard about Swami like 1979 or so. The first book, the only book that was available about him was Howard Murphy's Man of Miracles in German language, and I was fascinated. I had heard about him through my future spiritual teacher to come. That was a lady down in South Germany called Dina Rees. She has gone a long time already, but she said, he is the one that you have to follow, you have to see him. At that time I was very much dedicated to Jesus the Christ, and I couldn't reconcile both forms. So I was a bit, you know, hesitant to follow Swami. But as the story went, at that time I was a teacher in Finland, Helsinki, and I didn't like the job really. I didn't want to become to be a teacher.
You were a German teacher, I understand.
I was a German teacher for German language, and I always wanted to be a spiritual teacher.
Really?
Yeah, since
Probably,
the age of 20, I would say.
I would guess a Christian follower of Jesus, spiritual teacher.
No. Actually, I wanted to be a meditation teacher.
Okay.
You know, since when I was 21, I started out with transcendental meditation, as many of
Me too.
You too, yes.
I started in 1972.
Oh, I see.
Got initiated into TM and worked real hard at it.
Oh, great.
Still practice it from time to time.
Yeah, so do I. And it's a great meditation. I think it has all the Bhagavad Gita teachings in it. And the only thing which made me go astray from it was that Maharishi didn't talk about God. In the very beginning he did, actually, when he made a record, and actually it was a vinyl record. And I can't remember what the title was, but he talked about God, about this. Of course it's not available anymore, but...
Well, I love what your story is, what it's hinting about, and I'm curious to know, What pushed you over the edge when you couldn't quite reconcile Jesus and Sai Baba to actually landing here in Prashanti Nilayam? How did you get to take that step?
So back in 1980, when I was in Helsinki, I had a mystical experience. The mystical experience was, which I of course pertain to Swami now, is that I experienced my karmic life yielding to dharmic life, which was...
Never heard of this before. Your karmic life yielding to dharmic life.
Yeah, this is how I explain it. It was in an instant I realized that I don't have to be a teacher anymore. After having surrendered to the idea that I might serve being a teacher a lifelong time, a job which I didn't like, you know. So at a given moment, I felt a relief, an extreme relief, and at the same time, a voice within my chest told me the words, "You are to become a healer." I didn't know what a healer was, but I was in bliss.
So you got put onto a different road, a different path, and it was a very pronounced declaration to you from...
A voice which was not mine. I never heard that voice before.
Whose do you think it was?
I know, I thought it was from a higher realm, because I was in bliss, I was so happy.
Had you ever been in bliss before? Have you ever been that happy before?
No, not.
So this
not
was
really.
a big demarcation in your life.
That's right. I knew what I had to become. This was my profession. That was my calling. And a calling has a voice to call. And I experienced that, and I felt very privileged.
Wonderful. Now you still haven't told us how that takes you up to Sai Baba.
That's right. So, I knew I had to go along this road, so which I did, and I found out which procedures, which means I had to take to realize this goal. And it was right before my 29th birthday, actually, when I sat in meditation. I did TM meditation. And for some reason I had the idea, oh, I changed my mantra. And I
From the one they gave you.
Yeah. So I picked Om Sai Ram.
And why did you do that?
I don't know.
How did you even know about it?
I don't know. I can't remember actually.
You weren't a follower.
I weren't a follower, but I knew some followers probably, and maybe they said something about Om Sai Ram. So I asked myself, well, why not using it instead of my old mantra?
It's a perfect mantra.
It is. So I closed my eyes. I thought this mantra, and I went off, but I didn't know I went off, and Swami appeared upon me.
No, let's back up. What do you mean by it went off? You went off.
I didn't know that I was meditating. You know, usually you're aware, you're sitting somewhere, you're closing your eyes, you're repeating your mantra, you're having thoughts, and so forth.
You know what you're doing, yeah.
Yeah. So this awareness was gone. And instead, I was in a, I can't explain it differently, I was in a different dimension, and Swami appeared upon me like you were sitting in front of me now. He was standing in front of me.
Did that alarm you? Did it give you pause?
I was spaced out. I was in awe, you know. So he talked to me, and he materialized a present to me. It was a ring, a special ring, and he put it on my finger, and I was desireless, you know. I just wanted to look at it and pull it off and have a closer look at it. And he said, no, it's not timely.
Was it an imaginary ring or a real ring?
It was all real to me. The whole thing was like three-dimensional. He's standing in front of me and talking to me, giving this ring to me. And I was not aware I was meditating.
Okay, so it was a picture in your mind as if it were real, and the ring that was put on your finger by Sai Baba was part of that.
It was part of the scenery.
Part of the scenery.
Yeah.
And when you came out of the meditation, I imagine there was no ring on your finger at that time.
No, it just, while being in meditation, this ring dissolved into light.
Oh, I see. So
So Swami said, no, it's not timely to look at it. It will give to you later.
Ah.
You see? So, and Swami backed, he went back. He also dissolved into light.
He did?
Yes, he did. And then the next moment, I opened my eyes, looked around and said, what was that?
Sure.
So it was, what was real, this or that? So I couldn't tell. Of course, I stayed afterwards I stayed mostly in this...
so you weren't, this was not in the middle of the night, you were not asleep, you were not daydreaming, you were meditating.
It was a meditation in May in forenoon, yeah, I remember that.
So it was such a powerful meditation and such a powerful image within that meditation that once you came out of it, am I right in concluding that you felt you had to investigate who this Swami was?
Definitely, yeah. Then from that moment on I knew I had to go to Puttaparthi. No way to escape that.
So you climbed on one of those big Lufthansa jetliners and you came to Bangalore.
By Christmas I was there.
By Christmas? And this is 1980?
1982.
1982.
Exactly 30 years back.
So we're having Christmas in Prashanti now, a year and a half after he left his physical body. This is December 2012. My guess is Christmas was a whole lot different back then from the stories I heard. He put a huge emphasis on Christmas for the Christians and Westerners who would come. And what was your reaction to everything you found, including seeing Sai Baba when you came here that first time?
It was a revelation without end. It was awe. I was awestricken. I knew I had to come here and I was happy. I was just happy. And of course it was surroundings, environment which I was not used to. You know, the ashram was really basic at that time. You know, we had, this was, when you see this film of Richard Bach, Art of Divinity, that was how it looked like. You know, we didn't have we had a compound, we had no wall, we lined up, of course, we did that. But there was we just went in and sat down.
Was far looser in his movements back then. I'm led to believe he would surprise you at different hours and come right up to you and other people. And
well, we had darshams 2 times a day, as was the rule. And but he came. Of course, he came close. I remember he came. I was in line 1. He came around, and I stood up. You're not supposed to stand up in front of Swami. I stood up and said, Swami, I want your grace.
Well, that's perfectly understandable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did he look at you?
Yeah. He tapped on my skinny shoulder and said, wait, wait. Of course, I didn't understand by that time what was waiting for me.
What was waiting for you?
Was waiting for me. So many ordeals, of course, in my life. But
which are his calling cards and which are his gifts. And I suspect when you say many ordeals, they weren't all beautiful ordeals.
No, they weren't beautiful, but they were lessons to learn, and of course they helped me on the way. They helped me with my profession, of course, because since having undergone all these trials, you know, I can understand my patients much more easily.
So you went from teaching, you were liberated from that, you went into healing, homeopathic healing, which you've been doing now for many years, I presume.
That's right, 27 years now.
Very sensitive approach required to deal with your patients coming from all backgrounds.
That's right.
And their ailments range from physiological to spiritual to psychological, am I correct?
Yes, any.
It's all, the whole gamut.
It's the whole...
Yeah. And it sounds like Swami pretty much must have given you his stamp of approval because he always welcomed you coming to the ashram all those times.
That's right.
How many times approximately have you been here?
I reckon it's about maybe 15 times or so.
15 times. So Kai, as in Sai, without Sai, its physical form here.
Yeah.
Simple question, what attracts you to come back?
I feel the calling, I feel the urge to come here, you know. It's
That's so nice to hear. You feel the calling.
Yeah.
Even though you know you're not going to turn the corner and see Sai Baba coming down the darshan hall.
That's right. I mean, I have him with me all the time.
So you don't have to come here from Germany if he's with you all the time.
But it's different to be here in Prasanthi Nilayam, because this is the place where, this is the most peaceful place. This is a different world. This is peace. This is, people are friendly with each other. There's no prejudice. There is love. People encounter each other with love and respect, and it's so totally different from, you know, being back to Germany, where everything is clean on the outside, but it's a difficult time to be there.
It is, but it's my impression that it's not always roses and lavender and jasmine here too. I've had other people sitting across from the camera in the seat you're sitting in say it very bluntly, that this can be Sai Baba's mental ward from time to time for people because of the issues that come up that they have to deal with.
That's true. I've gone through that too.
You have yourself?
Yes. I could say that in all the, from talking by all the journeys I've come here, this is the most peaceful so far.
This particular journey?
This particular journey.
Isn't that nice to hear?
I don't know what it depends on. Maybe I've become of age. You know?
I used to think the pressure was off. We used to scramble years ago. Jody and I have been here 15 times maybe, not nearly as long as you have. But we started coming here back in the days when you did get up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you prayed that you got into a good chit line, and then you prayed that your line was called to go to the mandir, and then you prayed you could run fast enough to get to the first line.
What a pressure.
Yeah, and then you prayed that as Baba was talking to the man next to you and taking his letters, he would talk to you and maybe, who knows, invite you in.
Yeah.
And all that pressure's gone now.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know if it's very popular to put it that way, but that is a lightening of the load of pressure of expectation.
That's right.
Yeah.
I have the same identical experience.
Yeah. Well, and yet you still find him here, I sense you're telling me.
Oh, yes.
And how do you find him here any more or any differently than back in Germany?
It's difficult to say. It is if I, you know, since all the obligations just are omitted, which I have to confront when being in Germany, you know, this is, I can completely concentrate on him, or it's not even concentrating. It's so easy to get linked.
Oh, it is.
You see?
It is.
So this is much more blissful.
Over the 15 or so visits you've made here, you've told us of one account where he tapped you on the shoulder and said, "Wait." Has he had any other contact with you in the physical form since then, in those 15 visits? We
had, but I think I'm very special in being if I call myself a long-term devotee, I'm the exception, never having an interview granted.
Well, that puts you in a very special, non-special category, which is super special, because those people around me whom I encounter, including those who have come and never seen Baba's glance in their direction, and they've maintained such fervor, such an ardent devotion to Baba. That's really commendable, because that goes beyond faith. That goes beyond evidence and connection that he gives to other people. Sometimes he calls people in 40 and 50 times in their lifetime.
Of course, that raised doubt in myself, of course, you know, and put me in considering my self-worth and so forth. You know, all this which goes inside yourself. We had other ways of communicating. Like, our way was, you know, I traded letters. as we do, you know.
Now, when you mean you traded letters?
No, we don't. We actually, I offered letters to him,
And he would take them?
and yeah,
He'd walk by and take them, even though he
or
was
if there was anything inside when it was a question of yes and no, he would just make clear indications, yes or no, you know. So I remember once I was here, I was in real despair, and I thought, Swan, please grant me an interview. I need this desperately. So he took this letter. He even actually he went out of his way. He came through the crowd. I was sitting way back to get my letter, you know.
So he really made the extra effort. He knew you needed that letter to be taken.
And then he went away, and I cried out in despair, and he said, Swami, I need your help. And he said, yes, I will help. So things like that. But maybe I can relate two wonderful experiences.
Please do.
With which I had, which was not direct physical contact with him, but that was a life and death situation.
With you?
Not mine, but I was involved.
Please tell us.
One was back in the 80s when I had just become a practitioner in my profession, and a man came up and he heard that I was a practitioner, but I hadn't set up at my office yet. So, but he said, I'm in despair because my wife, she has a gestosis. She's pregnant in 6 months. She's unconscious. She has this high blood pressure and so forth. You know, this is a life-threatening situation. The doctors say either the child, or you have the choice. You can have your child or your wife.
Oh my goodness!
If we save your wife, she will be in a wheelchair, she will be brain damaged, she will be...
Oh my goodness.
What, you know, and he asked me, can you do something? And I said, hang on. Yes, I can pray. So what I did was, at that time you could send telegrams to Swami. Small as Puttaparthi was, it was on the list of telegraph stations, you see?
So you were here back in those days when that actually happened, and people would send a telegram.
Yeah, so I sent a telegram, Swami, please help this lady. You see, all that was it.
No more details.
No more details.
None needed. He would know who it's coming from and who it's about.
That's what that was my firm belief, you know?
What happened then?
So, next day, this man called, a miracle has happened. So, his wife is back in consciousness. She has delivered the baby. Both are well. She's breastfeeding the child.
Oh my God.
And the doctors say this is a miracle. So, Swami intervened.
Oh,
isn't it?
I would, if I were so fortunate enough to have 100 interviews with Swami, I'd trade all those for that experience. To have such resounding faith given to you in huge quantity by having Baba show you the power of your faith in him.
That's right.
With that simple one-line request on a telegram.
Thank you.
How did you feel about that?
I was awestruck.
I mean, in addition to for the man and his wife and his new baby, how did you personally feel?
But this made my belief even firmer, of course. You know, my dedication, my devotion was deepened. You know.
Before we get to the second account, let me ask you about what you mentioned before, that you too, like myself, have part of your history, doubt, which is, I think Baba has said, always a good thing to have. When did you get to the point, was this the episode? Was it something else when the doubt became the smaller part of your being rather than a larger part of your thinking?
It definitely helped to face the trials which were to come, and to overcome them, and to go through them, and to be reinforced and
in other words, the faith that was given to you from that one episode helped to lessen your overall doubts, especially for the future trials that you were exposed to.
It didn't spare me the future trials, but it was easier for me to go through them.
It mitigated a little bit of the discomfort.
That's
It
right.
made it smaller.
Yeah.
And I ask this for a reason, and I want to get to that second story too. But tell me if you agree or not with my outlook that these trials, these challenges, never seem quite to end. In fact, sometimes they seem to become more numerous on the spiritual path and more intense.
That's right.
What accounts for that? I mean, I could give you my guess, but what do you think accounts for that?
I totally agree. I see the older I get, the delusion fades that life becomes easier.
Yeah.
It only becomes easier in proportion to the detachment which I have to my physical form, you know. The more I look at a distance to myself, to the things around me, with more mildness, I would say, you know, with less involvement, this is the way to make life really easier, but it took me so many years to get there.
And the key word in that several paragraph explanation you gave was detachment. And detachment is such an easy word to roll off our lips and so difficult to practice. How have you managed to grow into greater and greater detachment?
With Swami's grace and help, I think. So he, since I'm always reflecting my doings, my thoughts, and Swami is my permanent point of reference. You see, so I go in and out and try to find out if I'm doing right, doing wrong. How can I improve? How can I be more lovingly, and so forth? You know, so it's inevitable that you cut down your amount of desires because they bring you into trouble. And this is what I'm practicing, basically.
So Baba always mentioned, as the Buddhist practice and try to practice, is from my tradition of Course in Miracles taught, non-attachment is the path. And when you get to non-attachment to outcome, which I think is even greater than just non-attachment, you set your sights to do this. Here's the expected outcome. But if it doesn't happen, don't be attached to the outcome never materializing. It's liberating.
That's liberating. This makes my life so much easier. And of course I have this this Buddhistic what do you call it, maxim, you know?
Yeah.
Do your best. Simply do your best, and God looks after it. You know,
But that's so subjective, because if I were to say, Kai, you just told me you did your best, but I've seen you do 3 times this in previous years. That's not your best. You've done far better than that before. So I'm always wondering, how do I judge myself when I say, well, I've done my best? Well, in whose opinion have you done your best?
Well, this is my inner measure.
That's your inner measure.
You see? Because I know I do, when I sit with my patients, for instance, you know, of course it's my deepest wish to help them and to have their health and their well-being improved. But it's not in my hands, especially since I'm a homeopath and I'm working with non-chemical remedies, agents, you see. So that's all on the energy basis, and what happens is miracles in terms of chemistry. Of course, it's miracles which take place. So I know it's all in Swami's hands.
Wow. Let's not forget the second story you were going to share with us.
This is another really amazing story which I'm going to relate now. And actually, I heard it only recently. That's 2 years ago. A colleague, I was involved in it on the sort of outskirts. She called me one night, that is 12 years ago, and in the middle of the night, and she says, my my best friend, she's going to die, she's full of cancer, she's in the intensive care of the hospital, and the doctors say she won't survive the night. What can we do? And I told her, I happen to have Swami's fax number.
His fax number?
His fax number. Probably of the office, I don't know. But it was... So I told her the fax number. That was...
Send him a fax.
Kind of 10 or 11:30 in the evening, no?
In Germany?
In Germany.
So it's early morning in India?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. So I put down the receiver. I haven't heard of her in 10 years. So 10 years later, we are back in 2010 now, she tells me this story. That very night, her friend was visited by the angels that cured her.
She was laying there dying of cancer.
That's right.
Full on her body, filled with cancer. And that very night that you gave your friend Swami's fax number, presumably she sent him a fax then and there. I mean, I don't know if that's happened or not, but her friend dying was visited by angels.
Exactly. And even more so, it was at the exact time that I gave her this fax number. So it was that very moment.
So she probably didn't even need to fax Sai Baba.
It wasn't even sent. This fax was never sent. It was just given to this lady doctor, you know.
So you had something to talk about after 10 years of not hearing from
Yeah, this was amazing. And since then, this lady, cured of cancer, of course the doctors were flabbergasted, you know. They were speechless. And since then, this lady is celebrating, on that very day, she's celebrating her birthday of a new life every year.
And she probably never even heard of Sai Baba and still doesn't know who Sai Baba is.
Well, she was told, but beforehand she had never heard of Swami.
Oh. You're a healer. You're a teacher. You're a follower of the ultimate energy. What can you impart to somebody watching this?
Who's really new to the whole thing. If they have found the way to Souljourn, this is the best thing that can happen to them, to get interested, to get hooked, and to deepen their inherent desire to growth and self-liberation, I would say. It is, you're doing such a great job.
Not me, it's your stories.
Yeah, well, we're just people who have the opportunity, who are allowed to share these experiences with you, and so to
don't
share.
Shortchange yourself because the viewer, let's assume it's a new person, and somebody sent them a link and never heard of Souljourns or Sai Baba, and they're watching Kai right now talk about this teacher named Sai Baba. They've just heard unbelievably fantastic, truly unbelievable stories. And their decision is either to render you an enormous ego in the world who needs and seeks ultimate attention, or you're certifiably crazy, or maybe there's a tiny chance where you're speaking actually the truth. And they can judge, they can tell by your demeanor, by your words, by your energy, by your love, by your essence. And that's what I think the magic of, and I'm tapping onto this camera here, in my association with being in the business of broadcasting for many years, phonies are spotted very easily. I learned that the hard way, unfortunately. And the same applies to what you're doing on a spiritual path, telling your story to newcomers, presumably. So I just want to thank you for that, because your story is unbelievable, and yet it's true. It's real. Have you been able to reconcile that with other people sharing their accounts to you about their quote-unquote unbelievable stories?
Oh yeah. Yes, of course. I mean, some just go away. They think I'm crazy. And some, this is the third category, but you mentioned, they're lucky. They're lucky because they think there's a glimpse, there's a little, maybe they assume it's a little part of truth in there, and then they dig deeper, and that's their big chance. And the other ones, okay, the seeds will stay in the ground, but they will grow one day. It's not up to me, it's all up to Swami.
Kai, this has been an amazingly fast and just wonderful 42 minutes. Thank you very much for sharing.
I thank you so much.
Sairam.
Sairam. In 2011, my brother came in and he told me, I just heard on the news that Sai Baba had died. And I just burst out into tears. I hadn't expected it really. I thought Swami would stay on, and I was in despair. I was in despair at that moment, and I was really shaken.
Even though a lot of us kind of were being prepared, conditioned to know that his faith, his health was continually diminishing, it still caught you by such surprise.
Yes, because he said he would live until 96. So I knew that he had taken on a lot of karma from his disciples, from his devotees, and I thought this is something this is not due to his age, but this is due to some real impact of karma he's taken on, and he will go through it and he will be all right after that. So I really had not expected him to die.
So a word we've used a lot is reconcile. Kai, how did you reconcile his passing from his physical form?
When I finally had to face it, that his physical form had gone and he was no longer accessible for me in this form, I knew I had to, immediately knew I had to turn to the interview and to deepen this and to cultivate my my connection with Swami on the inner level more and more, and which I had done all the years before, and due to not having any interview in his interview room. You see, so he trained me before in all the years, and now I harvested that, and so I could go on like I had always done.
Wonderful.